Welcome to this episode. Thanks a lot for joining. So, a quick introduction. This talk will be speed up. It will go quite fast because it's a really thick topic. I'm going to talk about data loss prevention and canary token and which potential is not explored by the industry and why is a bit underrated as a measure. So let's start. Why, first of all, I came up with this idea to talk about it. So, I was reading an article a couple of days ago on a new technique that was discovered. So, I'm referring to this one, just like that you have a reference. So, is an abuse on Google Drive and Docs. And you have a URL there if you want to see the article, but let's be honest, we are talking about these kind of attacks 2017, 2019, 2020, and 2021. So what is Google Docs? Let's avoid to discuss about the attack vector. Let's discuss about data. So first of all, the data is contained on the SaaS service. The issue is the URL. We know that it's not easy to be fixed because if you want to use your own URL, you end up into a loop of a DNS bouncing. It's unmanageable on that side. I always concern that probably a better thinking behind the URL structure would have been decreasing this opportunity for attacks. But what I want to discuss is also data equal data loss prevention. So we didn't move too much recently into that. If you look at the DLP solution in cloud, are obviously more focused on be a bridge with the ICAP interface. If you don't know, ICAP is the standard for using an interface where you have, for example, the catalog of the data. So the real issue here is there is no fresh approach on rethinking on the data, uh, not structured anymore as just a pure file, but as access to a SaaS service. So we do know that you have CASB, you have a SaaS approach, zero trust, authentication on that. DRM is another big topic because you can use an authentication server for that. But when you are going into this kind of SaaS service, most of its function are not available. And so how do you fix? So I was digging a bit into the Canary token back in the days, and I was really happy to read that even the approach of Microsoft is finally giving a bit of room and hope for Canary token. So Canary token are used by who think about security more than talking about security. And I would like to be an influencer just to be sure that people use Canary server and Canary token because still till nowadays nobody understand what is the difference between a Canary server and an honeypot, and that is a big mistake. So let's not touch this topic, but just to say that the Canary token and Canary server are anyway linked because you can point to a web server like this one that is the one that Canary token project give you, and so the callback, for example, is given back to them, or you can have your own. So if you have your own and you couple that with an authentication server like a DRM, for sure you have a track of when the document is open because if you force the document to be opened only for online, at that stage for sure the canary token works too. So that is an approach that is not really explored, but also an incident response. Think of the potential of seeing all documents that were having a signature and the one that didn't have. Signature is so difficult conversation. I would see it as a good approach, but the market didn't move too much into that in terms of evolving the application of certificate to documents and signing. So let's think that a DRM approach, an authentication server where there is the signature to unencrypt the file, is for sure a good way to have control on the file that is going around. Because if you have a SaaS service and you provide the access, that doesn't mean that in any case there is always a residual risk that somebody take a picture of that and all your controls are anyway gone. But complexity need to be balanced with usability, and we well know that concept in security. But what I'm trying to establish is uh, think on how difficult it is nowadays to fight the phishing, how difficult it is to manage the DLP, and control on the endpoint. So an approach that is fresh with a rethinking, understanding that the service and the data now is cloud would benefit. A query in a big data lake where, for example, document that are not having a canary token and are open get spotted is another potential. There are data like the one here, for example, Microsoft is talking about in the article to use an ONI token. So is applying the concept of a canary token to say, okay, put into your data set some of this document with ONI token. If get compromised, then somebody open it, you get some information back, and it's up on that. So I think it's underestimated how we react to DLP, how we think on preventing, but now the term data loss prevention is not enough. You should be ready to have control also when you lost the data. And to have it, you need an authentication server with the encryption of the file, and so the file can't be brute forced and can't be read. You need a rethinking in terms of how you connect all dots, zero trust access, the SASE kind of approach. So if you are thinking on a fresh approach on use on a token, use canary tokens in general, create your canary token server as well instead to point to public service. It's way powerful. And if you go on the documentation of canary tools, you see that you are opportunity also to generate factory for Google document and sheet canary token through the API. So there is a lot of potential on how to register new Google document and sheet with a canary token, for example. So there is a lot of automation that can be applied to the concept. As usual, this video wanted to be just a bit of food for thought. You'll have time to rethink about it and have your own opinion. There is no solution that is right or wrong. In DLP, historically, there is too much bind to the product. You can't have a DLP strategy based on product. You need to have a DLP strategy based on a plethora of factors like processes as well. And having an understanding of how you generate the data mapping, how you keep track of that, how you enforce it, it's quite vital. But I see the DLP moving only into the endpoint enforcement when actually is a strategy, but is not the only one. Because if you get the SaaS service that contain that compromised, or NES filtration by API, for example, you don't have much visibility and you bypass those kind of controls. So I'm surprised by the fact that DLP is so hot topic and so little new thinking on it. Okay, and thanks for listening. If you want, subscribe. You'll get notified when there is new content. If you want my opinion about the industry, you have my book on Amazon. And if you like to comment, please feel free and contact me at any time. The Vision is my website. You'll find some resources in there as well. And I'm here open to a conversation. Thanks for your time. Take care. Bye bye.